Day 31. Welcome back. If you haven't yet, hit that like and subscribe button. And if you have already, thank you for the follows. You know, we're trying to hit that 1,000 mark. And we're real close to it. We're at like 910, 913, something like that, I think. So, pretty close. So with that, we're starting our next 60-day section, or 30-day section of our 90-day transformation. And the first 30 days, you know, we put a bunch of strength back on, coming back into it, and now we've reset our new baseline. So today we're going to go ahead and hit our chest day, triceps. We have our schedule that we're going to work off of. You know, going 95, 135, 185, 225, 265. Following the same thing we hit last week as for bench. Just to repeat it, you know, let the elbows and the shoulders acclimate up to this higher weight again. And then here in a couple chest days, we'll go ahead and we'll start bumping that up, shooting towards that 300 mark. But for now, let's go ahead and get into benching, get this knocked out. That feels a little heavy today, but kind of got a little off kilter there on that third rep, so just go ahead and rack it. No reason to try to catch that and press a fourth. So we'll go ahead and move up to 265 and see how it goes. Wow. Not happening today. Well, I tell you what, that moved about as good as a sack of sand in the rain. Even though that doesn't make sense. But that's crazy. Because last chest day, we just hit that for 2. So, off day, I guess. I tell you what, it is what it is. We're not always going to be 100. So, I'm going to go ahead and get this unracked off here. And we'll just go into chest flies, I guess. Got 20 pounds on the stacks. 3 sets, 20 reps on flies. And let's see if how these feel today. So, yesterday, 8 normal. Don't think did anything out of the norm. Sleep was whatever. Not too bad. Like, I didn't sleep great, but not bad enough to, I think, affect performance today. Water about normal. I've only had one meal today. That could definitely be the problem there. Normally I would have already had 2 meals by now, and not just one. And since I'm in a deficit, that could definitely be the performance problem there. Because I'm already on a fairly low amount of carbs as it is. So if I'm at, normally, since it would have been 2 meals by now, I would have had like 2/3 my daily carbs. I'm only at a third, so I'm at half of the carbohydrates I would have normally had by now, which obviously is going to fuel your muscles and fuel your workout. So if I'm too depleted on carbohydrates, I'm not going to have the same performance output, nor am I going to have the same pump. Which kind of makes sense, because I feel a little flat, per se. So, I guess let's talk about food. Because, I mean, you're in a deficit, you're trying to drop weight, because that caloric deficit's what's going to end up overall burning more fat, because you're not going to take in enough calories to support your daily energy output. And then your body's going to rely on burning fat and muscle tissue to fuel you throughout the day. So, if you're not being very specific with your carb intake while in a deficit, you're going to run out of energy when you go to do your physical activities if you haven't had your carbohydrates beforehand to fuel the muscles. So, because I'm half of what I would normally have right now, and I could, like, mentally I don't feel it, but physically I can feel the lack. And it's not like the lack of drive or muscle connection. It's like the muscles are just firing way slower. They're definitely running out of gas kind of fast and early. So that definitely blows. I was just kind of lazy this morning, had a late start to getting up and eating, doing the morning routine, getting yesterday's video edited and whatnot. And just kind of got distracted and then didn't eat. So my first meal was not until probably pretty close to 2 o'clock. And normally I'd be eating my second meal at like 2:30 and prep to work out. Like, I basically kind of eat between 2:30 and 3, start drinking my pre-workout around 3:10 to 3:30, and then come on out to the gym around 3:30 to 3:45. Finish up the pre and get into it. So, routine is going to be, I'm going to say, probably a little more important during your deficit and cutting phases, because that's when like your food timing and your protein timing, like I don't really think protein timing is going to matter much as long as you're just eating it throughout the day, but definitely your carbohydrate timing and having that broken down to glycogen and glucose in the body and ready to be used by the muscle is going to be massive benefit. So that's one reason why, like, say, fasted cardio, when you sleep all night, haven't consumed anything, you wake up, you have a little bit of water, and you go do your cardio first thing in the morning, can be super effective because the only thing really there for your body to burn is fat and a little bit of muscle tissue. You're always going to lose a little bit of both together when in a deficit, but you're trying to keep up your strength enough to where you're only losing more fat than muscle. But then you go ahead and, eat throughout the day, and you normally train heavy, your resistance training later in the day into evening time after you've already had your 2 or 3 meals, maybe 4 meals, depending upon how big you are, how much you're eating, natural or enhanced. So that way you have all that fuel and your body's ready to go and rock before you go and lift. But with that, let me go ahead and get set up for across the chest presses, and we'll get those knocked out. So, one of the things you can think about is if you're having inconsistent workouts, like being able to hit a weight, not hit a weight, lacking energy, tiring out early, whatever it may be, kind of track your food and see if the days are down on performance, if your food intake overall or if your carb intake for those days is lower than normal. Woo! And I'm gonna, take a pretty educated guess and suspect that your days that you lack in performance is going to be related greatly to food intake while you're going through a deficit and trying to cut and drop weight. So you will definitely have more bad days per se. Not all the time still, but they're going to be more frequent when you're in a deficit and cutting because your body doesn't want to let go of what it has. So it's trying to preserve it. So it's not going to let you expel as much energy per se. Like, you're going to be able to push it and make it work hard, but you're just not going to be able to be as strong or maybe do as many sets while still reaching the same amount of fatigue. So And also, too, when you're in a deficit, your recovery is also going to be reduced. So, but with that should help quite a few people figure out why they might be struggling in the gym and staying motivated. Because as your deficit cut goes on and on, it is a mental struggle to keep pushing because your body's telling you, like you're dying, more or less. It thinks you're dying because you're not eating enough, quote unquote, to maintain the weight you're at. So as you're losing weight, the body doesn't like that. So the body is designed to just pack on and store as much fat and energy as possible because it still thinks the next meal is never coming. So we know it's all coming, but the body goes, I have to be able to preserve myself if I can't eat. And that's just from natural instincts of how the brain works and what the body wants. So these are those weird little struggles that really don't get talked about a lot. Is even though you're not starving to death and you're giving yourself food, every couple hours, like before you start eating, the body's going to start going into that phase of like, I haven't eaten again yet. Like, I need my next meal. And that's when your hunger starts to come in. It's the body thinking, we're not going to get fed. And then, if you let that hunger go for a little too long, then the body goes into preservation mode. And it goes, okay, well, when I eat next, I have to keep all of this. So you end up in this point of the body wanting to retain everything, so you have to be very careful about not consuming too many calories as an overall, because once you do, your body's going to suck it all up like a sponge and try not to let it go. And that's where a lot of people kind of run into plateaus at too, is as they go through their deficits, their carb intake might be a little too high for it to continue to make progress. So it's able to suck up all those carbs, you don't burn all that glucose and glycogen, and then it gets converted to fat because you're not doing enough cardio or you're not resistance training hard enough. So you get stuck in this crappy like midsection of weight loss. And you're kind of stuck with two options: reduce your calories more or increase your performance outputs. So that progressive overload. But it all kind of depends upon what goals you're trying to reach. And overall, eventually, like, your body will reach equilibrium where it's just going to sit, and you have to change whatever you're doing again to make more progress. Oh. finish up chest for today. Just our 3 simple workouts we've been doing. Unfortunately, we failed our top set on the bench, but it is what it is. So now we're going to go ahead and get set up to do triceps, and I'll bring you all back. Today, with triceps, we're going to go ahead and focus on just getting a real big pump, since the strength feels a little bit down. So we're still going to work up in weight, but we're going to start at 20, go 30, 40, maybe 50s. But we are going to superset our overhead tricep extension and a tri press down with the rope, and just really just beat them down as much as possible. So let's go ahead and get this started. So we're still shooting for 15 reps a set. That currently feels super easy, so we're going to hit it for 20. Woo! There is something about doing these as a combination for a superset, because I can hit these kind of separately and the output is hard and I get a pump, but when I hit them back and forth, the pump is so much more intense. So it's just one of those weird things that you figure out as you're training, how certain exercises paired together or in a certain order can be really effective or almost have zero impact on the way the muscles feel. So I'm going to go ahead and get the weight changed around and get ready for the next set. Well, so what I thought was 20 pounds was 30 pounds. So apparently I just put the thing into the wrong spots. But either way, moving up 10 pounds. So now we got 40 on the stacks. So let's go ahead and hit this. Ooh. All right, we've got 50 pounds on here. Let's get this last set knocked out. So it'll be 30, 40, 50. Then we'll knock out our couple single arm sets. And that'll be it for today. Oh. Woo. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this switched around. We'll let some across the body, like single arm extensions. It'll finish off triceps. Then we'll get on out of here. We're gonna go ahead and just hit them back to back to back to back to back. Just try to get these done as quick as possible. Get the most blood pushed in with the least amount of rest time. Oh. Man, my triceps are feeling blown up. Ugh. These no rest back and forths, these will put some blood into that muscle. Ugh. 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 Woo! And just like that, they're like rocks. So with that, that's going to take care of today's chest and triceps. A little bit of a failure, but it kind of is what it is. Every day is not going to be our best. So, a little down on energy, but I think I kind of figured that out why. You know, missing that meal is going to definitely affect me in some sort of way, especially during a deficit. So, it is what it is. Tomorrow I just got to make sure I'm on time and eating those meals like I should be. And it shouldn't be that big of a problem tomorrow going into shoulders. So, with that, make sure you're working towards your goals, getting your stuff done. Most of all, just don't be a lazy fuck.